know I got the receipts, girl. You know I got the receipts. All right, y'all. Welcome back to the SweetpeaDiaries. It's your girl, Sweet Pea, and I am back with another video. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back to my channel. And if you are a new subscriber, welcome to the SweetpeaDiaries. Be sure to like this video, share the video, but most importantly, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, we got breaking news. Tasha K, it is all over the blogs, okay? Tasha K. Everybody's been asking, when the hell is she going to pay Cardi B? What's going on with the bankruptcy, Sweet Pea? Well, it looks like now everybody is covering this story. It's all over the place, but they're not coming from it at the angle that we gonna come from it tonight, because your girl got exclusive receipts that shows that the bankruptcy trustee that actually was on the side of Tasha K, that was doing the actual bankruptcy work, she has actually sided with Cardi B. She turned on Tasha. Okay? She turned on Tasha and said that Cardi B is right. Cardi B hired her attorneys and some forensic accountants, and they have discovered that Tasha K has been hiding money on offshore accounts. Now, we all knew this, okay, because Tasha was up here bragging months ago about how she was hiding money. But Cardi also has went on further to say that Tasha is taking her money that she's making online on her YouTube, her app, and all the little traveling around that she's doing, and she's actually putting the money in her husband's name. She's putting it in accounts in her husband's name. So that's why we can't find it, Judge, because she's putting the money in her husband's name. Well, guess what? Maria Yip, and that's her face right there next to Cardi B. Miss Maria Yip right there, honey. Miss Maria Yip. Maria Yip says, yes, Judge. Yes, Judge. It's true. And actually, I move to dismiss this bankruptcy as well. It needs to be dropped from a chapter 11 to a chapter 7. Now, who said that? Who said that in the beginning, that she needed to file a chapter 7? Who said that? I think I recall a YouTuber by the name of Sweet Pea, SPD. I think Sweet Pea said that she should have been filing a chapter 7 and not a chapter 11, because she really didn't have any debt. That if you remove Cardi B's debt, it was only about $30K. So I said, I don't think that she should have been able to file a chapter 11. I said that. So, honey, the trustee she filed a motion as well, and she's moving to drop this from a chapter 11 to a chapter 7. Now, honey, that don't happen every day. where the trustee that is working on your goddamn bankruptcy actually sides with your enemy, honey, and says, now, honey, you need, hey, Itsy Bitsy, you need to just go ahead and drop this chapter 11 and go ahead. So we're going to jump into these court documents because we got a lot to read, y'all. I got the documents where Cardi B has filed to dismiss the bankruptcy, citing that Tasha is hiding money. And I also got the documents that shows Maria Yip turned coat on Tasha. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, now before we get into it, we got to issue our disclaimer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a paralegal. I'm not a legal professional. And I am in no way, shape, or form offering legal advice. All right, we bike, y'all. All right, let me pull up these. Let me pull it on up. Let's see what kind of view we gonna do. We're gonna do this view. Let's see. Thank you for the Cash App. And y'all don't be shy. Go ahead and hit that Cash App. Make it rain. Make it rain on you, girl. It's Christmas time. We ain't shy. We some begging over her. It's Christmas. Go on, make that Cash App ring. Thank you, Kim. Let's do it like this. Do y'all want to actually see the words? Let's just do it like this so y'all can see. All right. Becalis Marlenis Almazar's motion to dismiss Chapter 11 bankruptcy case in an alternative convert case to case under Chapter 7 of the Bankruptcy Code. That means she's asking to convert it from a Chapter 11 to a Chapter 7. Okay? Becalis Marlenis Almazar, by through and undersigned counsel, moves this court pursuant to 11 U.S.C. for an order dismissing the Chapter 11 bankruptcy case of Latasha Transrena Kibi with prejudice to the filing of a petition under any chapter of the Bankruptcy Code for a period of 2 years from the date of the order of dismissal, or in the alternative converting the case to a case under Chapter 7 of the Bankruptcy Code. In support hereof, Ms. Almazar states. Now, what that paragraph just means right there, she's stating that she wants this to be dismissed. For 2 years, she cannot file any type of a bankruptcy or dismiss the Chapter 11 and drop it to a Chapter 7. The Bankruptcy Code is designed to provide relief to the honest but unfortunate debtor. However, the debtor in this case is neither honest nor simply unfortunate. Her actions both before and during this bankruptcy case exemplify fraudulent intent, bad faith, and abuse of the bankruptcy process. As detailed below, following her loss in the defamation action and in direct defiance of the Federal District Georgia Court's explicit admonition not to transfer assets or otherwise impede the collectability of the amended defamation judgment, the debtor and her husband, Shekna Kibi, orchestrated a months-long scheme to hinder, delay, and defraud Ms. Almazar's collection efforts. Specifically, the debtor and her husband engaged in the following conduct: fraudulent personal asset and income transfers. The debtor transferred certain assets and income streams to her husband and or his business, Yellen Entertainment, LLC, to hinder, delay, and defraud Ms. Almazar's collection efforts on the amended defamation judgment. Now, I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to explain something before we get into this. Tasha K, we were going over her bankruptcy when it first started. She then did a video and she then tried to expose my legal situation during one of her live shows. Okay. Tree sent her my situation, and so she thought that was funny. She also called me a drug addict and all kinds of things, okay? And I just sat back and laughed at that shit, right? I let her get it off. But I always knew that we would be right back here where we are. Lady, I may have had issues in the past with, a legal situation, but honey, I am no drug addict, and you just never stop with your defamation and your lies, okay? You ain't learned by being sued for almost $4 million goddamn dollars that you don't lie on people. You don't have no goddamn proof or don't know anything about me being on any type of substance. So for you to say that out your mouth was a bold-faced lie. But I already knew we was going to be right back here. So I just waited. I'm good at that. I bided my time. Okay. Now, what you did, you sat there and you moved money on, and when you were turning in your income report every month, okay, we showed this. We reviewed your bank records, and every month with your Chapter 11 bankruptcy, you were required to turn in your earnings, your bank statements. We went over it several times. You thought that you were so smart to make it trying to make it look like you were dropping money into Yellen Entertainment for payroll. Remember, I showed y'all that, right? I said, what is all these deposits to payroll and payroll? All these employees, you trying to act like you got employees. Payroll and Yellen Entertainment. Cardi B hired forensic accountants, attorneys, and they combed through these records. And they see that you are moving money around fraudulently. We were even able to see that. But you thought that you were so smart and that it just looked like you were just paying your employees. Ma'am, you don't have any employees to pay. You may have one or two people that do work, but you pay them cash apps, cash directly. You damn sure wasn't using paychecks or ADP or nothing like that to pay them, because it would have showed that. You were directly depositing the money into Yellen Entertainment. Your husband is the owner of Yellen Entertainment. And I said this on several videos. So she blatantly defrauded, I'm going to say, the courts, because Judge Ray told you not to move money. He told you not to try to hinder the collection efforts, but you did it anyway. And he even told Cardi that she can hire forensic attorneys to uncover anything if she saw fit. Remember, during the case, he said she can hire forensic attorneys. And she actually did. I keep telling you, Cardi money is long. Not your money. Cardi's money is long. She can afford to do these things. You cannot outsmart a millionaire. I have called this case from the beginning. I've called it from way back when the summary judgment, she lost that. I've been telling y'all what was up with this case and what was up with Tasha K. All right. So, fraudulent business assets and income transfers. Kibi Studios, LLC, a business jointly owned by the debtor and her husband at the time of the defamation action, transferred its assets and income streams to Yellen, which operates as a mere continuation of Kibi Studios without any ownership interest held by the debtor. These transfers were executed with the express intent to hinder, delay, and defraud Ms. Almazar's efforts to collect on the amended defamation judgment. This scheme was specifically designed to shield the debtor's income and assets derived from Kibi Studios and to circumvent the $500,000 judgment against Kibi Studios outlined in the amended defamation. And they unlawful and misleaded the bankruptcy filings testimony. Debtor filed bankruptcy schedules under penalty of perjury and omitted and or misrepresented certain of her assets and overall financial conditions. Pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 152, knowingly and fraudulently concealing assets, making false statements under penalty or perjury, or withholding recorded information related to property or financial affairs of a debtor is a federal crime, subject to fine, imprisonment up to 5 years, or both. So when people said, can Tasha K go to jail? Yes. She can face fine or imprisonment or both. Here, the debtor and her husband repeatedly provided knowingly false testimony under oath regarding the reasons for transferring certain assets to her husband. For example, debtor's transfer of her ownership interest in the residential home located at 398 in Lawrenceville, Georgia, to her husband. So they're saying, why did you transfer that property to your husband? They're saying that she made a false testimony under oath about doing so. They also provided knowingly false testimony regarding the existence, ownership, and control of undisclosed partnerships and onshore and offshore trusts, and misrepresented the business and financial relationships by and among the debtor, her husband, Kibi Studios, and Yellen. For example, Mr. Kibi testified untruthfully that Yellen is owned 50-50 between him and his brother, Lassana Kibi, who resides in Mali, Africa. Mr. Kibi further testified neither he nor his brother have ever taken a distribution from Yellen. In fact, Kibi's tax returns clearly reflect Mr. Kibi owns 100% of the interest in Yellen, and Yellen's tax returns also show that Mr. Kibi has in fact received distributions on the 100% owner as the 100% owner of Yellen. Worse, the debtor's plan furthers the lie that Yellen is owned 50-50 between Mr. Kibi and his brother. Thus, Mr. Kibi and the debtor are either lying to the IRS or to this court as to the true ownership of Yellen. Crucially, it was only after the claimant, at significant expense, uncovered the concealed trusts and partnerships that the debtor belatedly amended her schedules and disclosed their existence in her amended plan. So what they mean in that statement right there, Cardi spent significant money to uncover the fact that Tasha had trusts and partnerships. She only amended her plan, the bankruptcy plan, and added those schedules because Cardi found them. Meaning if she didn't investigate and find them, Tasha wasn't going to mention it. Okay? The debtor's post-ho self-serving justification of this concealment is not only hoc. I'm sorry. The debtor's post hoc self-serving justification for this concealment is not only implausible, but also fails to address and does not cure the fraudulent concealment of the trust and partnerships from the debtor's schedules or the repeated false testimony denying their existence. Notably, the debtor spent over $25,000 to establish the offshore trust. So they saying, not only did you have these offshore accounts, but goddamn, you spent $25,000 to establish these accounts. Then tried to make it look like there wasn't no money in them. Debtor's bad faith in filing for bankruptcy is further evidenced by her acknowledgement that she knew prior to filing for her bankruptcy that the amended defamation judgment is non-dischargeable. It is black letter law that a judgment arising from an intentional tort involving willful and malicious injury, such as the amended defamation judgment, is not dischargeable in bankruptcy. Notwithstanding this, Both the debtor and her husband repeatedly testified under oath that the primary purpose of this bankruptcy filing was to obstruct the claimant's collection efforts. This was one of the few points of consistent testimony between the debtor and Mr. Kebe. They're saying right there that when they testified on stand under oath, only times that Kebe and Kebe were in agreement and testified to the same shit was when they talked about filing that goddamn bankruptcy. That they both agreed that they filed it to get out of paying Cardi B. They said every goddamn thing else that they testified on under oath, they threw each other under the bus. Nothing was consistent. But the only goddamn consistent thing was that lie that they stuck to about filing the bankruptcy. But anybody, if you are have any bit of sense, you were able to see going through those records that the only reason this bankruptcy was filed was because of the $3 million judgment. Tasha K's assets, don't equal, and her debt did not warrant a Chapter 11. Chapter 7 at best. She barely owed $30,000. It was trumped up. She tried to make it look like she needed to file. That's why a couple of the creditors did not agree to the payment plan. They rejected it because they're like, girl, just fucking pay us. You have the money. Pay us in full and be on going about your business. We see that she made $70,000 in 1 month just from YouTube. Her goddamn car payment and the value of her truck was under $70,000. You could have been paid that truck off. Her credit card debt wasn't even $3,000. So you didn't have enough debt to file a Chapter 11. The only reason why it went through because it was of Cardi B's $3 million judgment. Okay? Now, the debtor's bad faith with respects to plan negotiations. Additionally, the debtor's bad faith is further demonstrated by her and her counsel's conduct during negotiations over the financial terms of the second amended plan. The court may recall the following representation made by the debtor in her motion to continue the confirmation hearing filed on October 30th of 2024. The debtor and her largest creditor, Becalis Marlanus Almazar, have reached an acceptable resolution of the matter. However, they continue to work on the specifics to be included in the debtor's yet to be filed amended plan of reorganization. And the parties are concerned that there will not be sufficient notice of the amended plan to all creditors prior to the scheduled confirmation hearing on November 19th. It has since become evident that the debtor intentionally and repeatedly misled Ms. Almazar, the subchapter 5 trustee, and the court at significant expense to Ms. Almazar. Following a judicial settlement conference with Judge Hyman on June 14th of 2024 and a subsequent meeting at the offices of the debtor's counsel on June 24th, attended by the debtor, Mr. Kebe, his counsel, Ms. Almazar's counsel, flying in from out of state, the undersigned, and the trustee. The parties came close to agreeing on the required plan payments through further negotiation, though further negotiation was necessary. So remember when we all was wondering if they were settling behind the scenes? Yes, they had they must have had a meeting of the minds, and everybody came to almost on June 24th. They almost came to an agreement. Okay, even though by the time they were done with that meeting, they still needed to further negotiate, but they were almost close to settling on an agreement. On August 22nd of 2024, the debtor's counsel tentatively agreed to Ms. Almazar's proposed monthly payment amounts, contingent on the debtor's approval. A counterproposal from the debtor's counsel was received and accepted by Ms. Almazar on September 9th, 2024. This agreement was reflected in drafts of the second amended plan circulated by the debtor's counsel on and after November 19th of 2024, which included the agreed upon payment schedule. However, on the day the second amended plan was to be filed, the debtor, in bad faith, unilaterally altered the agreed upon monthly payments in the second amended plan that was filed, and further cherry-picked out certain critical protections for creditors that also had been previously agreed upon between the parties. So let me get this shit straight. Am I reading this correctly? Tasha K ass had a agreement that was reached between her, the attorneys, Cardi B, and everything. There was monthly payments that were supposed to be made, monthly payment amounts to these creditors and to Cardi B. Cardi accepted it, signed it, and before that shit could be filed, Tasha K changed the amounts and then tried to slip it in to the courts. Are you fucking serious? You that goddamn underhanded, and you didn't think that they were going to see it? You thought you was going to be able to change it, send it through, and then if it had been entered into judgment, then it would have just been nothing that anybody could do because you changed it. See, they up on your ass. They watching. Debtors' true intentions were revealed when debtors' counsel informed the undersigned that the plan payment terms were merely aspirational and that no formal agreement had ever been finalized. The debtor's position is not only demonstrably false, but also puzzling for two reasons. The total amount to be distributed in the plan payment schedule remains identical to the total amount set forth in the earlier drafts that incorporated the agreed upon payment schedule. While payments to unsecured creditors are reduced in the first year, they are consistent with the agreed terms in years 2 and 3 and increase in years 4 and 5. And when the projections are most speculative and unsupported by historical evidence. Given these facts, it is difficult to understand how the debtor can now disavow the agreed planned payment schedule as merely aspirational. So Tasha said, we did agree upon amounts, but it was aspirational. They weren't set in stone. So the attorney is firing back saying, how? When all the amounts that are on this payment plan, they're identical to the previous one. So how are they aspirational? You tried to slip some shit through. You're being sneaky. If the schedule was aspirational before, it remains so now, especially since the feasibility of the plan still hinges on several speculative factors, including the Yellen contribution totaling roughly 3/4 of the funds available for plan payments, assumptions that debtor will be able to increase her ticket prices over time, and the production of additional content by the debtor. So they're saying that Tasha K promised that she can stick with this payment agreement because over time, her ticket prices for her shows, she's going to be able to charge more money as she becomes more famous. And then as she produces more content on her channel and on her app, she's going to be making more money. So they agreed to certain payments, even though they may have been higher, or maybe it looked like she couldn't afford it. But she's telling them, yeah, I'm going to be able to make more money. You don't know that. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if your ticket prices are going to be able to go up. Miss Almazar was prepared to accept the risk. So Cardi was see, I'm not dumb. I just called it. So even though you cannot foresee whether you're going to be able to do this, Cardi still was willing to accept it. Do you see how gracious Cardi B is? Cardi B has tried to work with Tasha K through this whole goddamn situation. She tried to get her to take the videos down. She sent cease and desist after cease and desist. Tasha still didn't take the shit down. Even when they was in this goddamn case, she tried to get Tasha K to stop the madness. She could have turned around at any moment and they could have settled it, dropped it, and move on. Tasha didn't want to. Even now, here, right now, when all this shit is staring Cardi B in the face, she's still willing to give Tasha grace and say, okay, I'm going to accept this risk that you're saying you're going to be able to increase your ticket sales. You're going to be able to make money, so you're going to be able to pay me. Okay, I'm going to go with it. She's still trying to work with the woman. And all you could do is be sneaky and underhanded. Just pay Cardi B her fucking money. That's all it could. You could have been paid this lady. You could have been already into, we going into a year. You could have been halfway, maybe almost done with at least 200,000 or something by now. Miss Almazar was prepared to accept the risk of the debtor defaulting under the agreed upon payment plan schedule, only on the condition that the safeguards or guardrails she proposed were fully incorporated into the plan. Ms. Almazar reasonably believed this was the case, as the guardrail provisions appeared in successive drafts of the second amended plan. However, the filed version of the second amended plan reveals that many of these critical protections were selectively removed without the knowledge, consent, or agreement of Cardi B. That is fucking dirty. So Tasha K, she put all this shit in place on these provisions and plans and made it look good. And just when they were about to say, okay, everything's good, the final draft that was to be submitted to the court, Tasha removed all of the safeguards, all the guardrails, everything that she said, she removed it. That's some sneaky ass underhanded shit. That's dirty. This demonstrates that the debtor has been engaging in bad faith negotiations, misleading Cardi B throughout the process at tremendous temporal and financial expense. Finally, as will be detailed in a separate objection, in addition to the debtor being unable to meet her burden to satisfy the good faith requirement for plan confirmation, the second amended plan is factually unconfirmable. It is highly speculative, misrepresents the debtor's income and expenses, and perpetuates the long-running fraudulent scheme to shield the debtor's assets and income from the creditors, particularly Ms. Almazar. In light of the totality of circumstances, Ms. Almazar respectfully requests that the court find debtor's petition was filed in bad faith and enter an order dismissing the bankruptcy case with prejudice, imposing a 2-year bar on refiling under any section of the bankruptcy code. So they want Tasha K to be kicked out of the damn bankruptcy courts for 2 years, basically. Dismiss the case, judge, and don't allow her ass to file for 2 goddamn years. This court has jurisdiction over this core matter pursuant to rule blah, 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 blah. Okay. Factual background, defamation action and judgment for the claimant. As a result of the debtor's malicious and intentional campaign to damage and destroy Ms. Almazar's reputation among her fans and consuming public, not to mention the debtor's efforts to monetize the defamation for greed and spite, on March 21st of 2019, Ms. Almazar commenced an action in the District Court for the Northern District of Georgia against the debtor and Kibi Studios, among others, in the case Dalba Gallus Marlenus Almazar versus Latasha Transrena Kibi. On January 10th of 2022, the Georgia District Court commenced a jury trial lasting multiple weeks, in which the jury ultimately found the debtor and co-defendant Kibi Studios liable to Ms. Almazar for defamation, invasion of privacy, false light, and intentional infliction of emotional distress, and further found that the debtor was to be jointly and severely liable for the damages with the co-defendant Kibi Studios. As a result of the jury verdict on February 17th of 2022, the Georgia District Court entered its judgment. Whew. And it was in favor of Ms. Almazar and against the debtor and Kibi Studios. On July 19th of 2022, the District Court for the Northern District of Georgia entered its amended defamation judgment. $1,025,000 for pain and suffering and or reputational injury, and for medical expenses against the defendant and Kibi Studios, jointly and severely. Now we know, again, that Cardi B was gracious again in that instance. And for medical expenses, she cut it down to $25,000. Ain't no way I would have done that. She cut that down. That's why it's 1.25. It was, I believe, 250,000 or something like that. I'm not sure, but we know that she put the medical expenses down to 25,000. $1 million in punitive damages against the defendant and $500,000 against Kibi Studios. $1.3 million for litigation expenses against both defendants. On August 22nd of 2022, Ms. Almazar initiated garnishment proceedings in Gwinnett County. On March 21st of 2023, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed the Georgia District Court's amended defamation judgment. And on April 4th of 2023, $9,304.81 was garnished from Google, representing the debtor's income for her YouTube channel. An additional $1,083.02 was garnished from Chase Bank. However, the garnished income was not distributed to Ms. Almazar, and it remains in the trust account of Ms. Almazar's state court counsel, Daniel T. Silos. So Cardi B hasn't even gotten her hands on that money. That's still sitting. On May 25th, 2023, in furtherance of her efforts to hinder, delay, and defraud Ms. Almazar's collection efforts, the debtor filed the above captioned bankruptcy case, even though she knew at the time that the amended defamation judgment was non-dischargeable. So they're saying Tasha knew that you couldn't discharge no damn bankruptcy case that was, a defamation case that you actually had imposed upon you for willful, intentional infliction of distress. You cannot discharge anything like that. And they said she knew that, but she filed this bankruptcy anyway. Worse, the debtor continues to live her life in luxury. For example, in the post-petition period, the debtor and her husband moved into a more expensive apartment compared to their pre-petition residence, with a monthly rent of approximately $7,000. Tasha K is living in a high-rise building in Florida, paying $7,000 a month. Additionally, the debtor's social media accounts showcase her wearing what appears to be high-end clothing, handbags, and jewelry. Plainly stated, the debtor continues to evade accountability for her willful and malicious actions against Ms. Almazar, maintaining a luxurious lifestyle without making any payments toward the amended defamation judgment. In contrast, Ms. Almazar has been compelled to incur substantial expenses to enforce this judgment, safeguard her rights as a creditor, and uncover the debtor and her husband's concealed assets and false testimony given under oath. Now, right here is where I want to address the public when they say this right here. Now, a lot of times people want to say that Cardi B is going too far. She's doing too much because Tasha K is not a celebrity. And she should know Tasha cannot afford $4 million. That argument is whack. Tasha K flaunts her income. She flaunts her jewelry, clothing, eating out, going on trips, her sold out supposedly shows. She flaunts all of that. Cardi B is a creditor. She has the right to investigate her finances because she's a creditor. So when people say that Cardi is going too far, Cardi is doing what any creditor would do to collect their money. This is not anything personal. This is business. This is what creditors do when you owe money. We all know that, especially during a bankruptcy such as this. They have to investigate. They got to find where the money is. You're not paying. So this argument that is too much, she's doing too much, she's doing what any other creditor would do. And those are the rules. Tasha outlined, she knows what the rules are. She was given all of that information when she filed. When she went to the attorney to inquire about filing, she knew that there would be a meeting of the creditors. She knew what Cardi B would have access to. So to attempt to continue to hide money and still go forth with these fraudulent activities was on her dumb ass. Because she knew that it was a possibility it would be uncovered because Cardi B is a creditor. And the meeting of the creditors is just for that purpose, for all the creditors to go over the debt, look at what the evidence is, and listen to what your plans is to pay this money back. So she could have been honest and forthright about it. They were almost reaching a settlement. And she showed her cards that she's not to be trusted. The debtor and her husband hindered, delay, and defraud the claimant's collection efforts. On January 25th of 2022, after reading the jury verdict at the conclusion of the Georgia defamation action, the federal district court admonished the debtor and her husband not to transfer their assets or otherwise change their financial condition. These were the words of the court. I want to say this to the defendants. This is a very substantial verdict that has been rendered against you, and your ability to satisfy it is the independent. Wait a minute. This is a very substantial verdict that has been rendered against you, and your ability to satisfy it is independent of the fact that it exists. I would just caution you, not knowing what may have been transcribed, what may have transpired before today, or what actions you may have taken. But I would caution you about any alterations of your finances or changes to your finances in an attempt to try to make the judgment less collectible than it is. Under Georgia law, efforts to do that can constitute fraud and can subject you to an additional tort claim and or lawsuit, much less an effort that could be brought in this court to enforce the judgment as it is to set aside things that actions you may engage. And given that both of you, at least tangentially, are involved in this case by transferring assets, if that were to happen, and I have no information to suggest that you would do that, but defendants sometimes do, into the names of third parties could also subject them to also possible tort actions in the future. So basically, Judge Ray said, don't do it. Don't try it. Don't try to move no goddamn money. And if you do and you try to put it in somebody else's name, they could be in trouble too. That's what that shit said. So basically what Cardi B's attorneys are saying in this statement here is that even though the judge gave her those words, specific instructions, they still did it. Okay? Now, on January 25th, 2022, they said that's what the judge said. And then they said it says the federal district court admonished the debtor and her husband not to transfer the assets or otherwise change their financial condition. Dischargeable debtor has diverted assets and income to her husband and his companies, ensuring minimal distribution to creditors over the life of the plan. These transfers are clearly fraudulent, as they are admittedly designed to hinder and delay Ms. Almazar's collection efforts on the amended defamation judgment. Okay, so they're saying that Tasha K has been putting assets in her husband's name. They've been transferring money. So like basically when she gets paid from Google or her Facebook or any type of income, it goes in her account. She has a Chase account. It goes in there, but then it is removed from that account and put in Yellen Entertainment, and she makes deposits and calls them payroll. We saw that. So they're saying you can't do that. That's fraud. because what you're trying to do, because your husband does not actually have, he wasn't found liable in that case. They didn't have an amount on him to pay, but they had an amount on Kibi Studios and Tasha. So what did they do? They dissolved Kibi Studios and turned it into Yellen Entertainment, which is why Cardi B's attorney said Yellen Entertainment ain't nothing but an extension of Kibi Studios. This is a whole lot of going on. Ain't no goddamn way Judge Ray Ray's going to turn his back on this. There's no way that a judge, any court, is going to ignore what Tasha did. It is a blatant misuse of, the court trusted that she would do the right thing. It's a misuse of bankruptcy, laws, bankruptcy rights. The debtor and her husband knowingly disregarded the court's admonition. They spent thousands of dollars hiring multiple asset protection professionals to facilitate the transfer of assets and the establishment of both onshore and offshore trusts designed to place their assets beyond the reach of Ms. Almazar. As detailed further below, debtor and her husband provided false testimony under oath regarding the existence of the partnerships and onshore and offshore trusts, and they deliberately concealed their existence from parties in interest in this court. In addition, the debtor knowingly lied when untruthfully answering no in number 25 of Schedule AB when answering whether she owns any trusts. So this is the actual application, or the schedule of the bankruptcy. When they ask you, do you have trust, equitable, or future interest in property other than anything listed in line 1, and rights and powers exercisable for your benefit? And she says no. Every month she answers that question, no, that she doesn't have any trust, but she does. This false statement was not corrected until June 14th of 2024, an entire year after the petition date, when it was addressed in an amended filing, made necessary because Ms. Almazar independently uncovered the existence of the previously undisclosed partnerships and offshore accounts. So they're saying here, you would have went on to lie and say that you didn't have any onshore or offshore accounts if Cardi B had not uncovered that you had them in June. Debtor and her husband, Mr. Kibi, admit moving the debtor's assets to avoid defamation judgment and garnishment. Over the course of multiple 2004 examinations, debtor and her husband testified untruthfully numerous times and plainly contradicted each other's testimony. But the debtor and her husband were at least consistent when they both testified that they moved assets in an attempt to avoid collection of the amended defamation judgment and garnishment efforts by Ms. Almazar. With respect to debtor transferring assets out of her name since 2022 to avoid garnishment, she testified, "That's exactly how I meant it. Since you were sued, have you been taking assets out of your name?" Ms. Simmons, objection. Tasha K, since 2022, yes. By Mr. Moon, okay, and why have you done that? Objection. Tasha K, to keep my funds from being garnished and not being put out on the street. Examination of Latasha Kibi, September 13th of 2023. With respect to the debtor's transfer of the ownership interest in the Georgia property, Mr. Kibi admitted that the transfer was made to avoid garnishment. Question: why did your wife transfer her interest in the Georgia property to you? Shaq: I guess to prevent garnishment. I don't know. Testifying personally on behalf of Yellen. Question: regardless of whether you knew about the transfer at the time, there did come a time when you found out that your wife had transferred her interest in the Georgia property to you, correct? Yes. Mr. Lieberman, same objection. Give me a second. By Mr. Moon, and you didn't do anything to reverse that transfer when you found out, did you? No. And you didn't do anything to reverse the transfer because you wanted to help her avoid garnishment, didn't you? Objection. Calls for a legal conclusion. Mr. Moon says, you can answer that, Mr. Shaq Nakibi. Shaq says, yes. Yes. Yes, we did it. We did it. Yes, that's what we did. We moved it. We're not going to pay her. We are not going to pay her. We moved it. Okay, Your Honor, we moved it. With respect to payroll payments, see? I told y'all that payroll shit. With respect to payroll payments for the debtor that were being paid into Mr. Keeby's personal bank account to avoid garnishment, Mr. Keeby, in later 2004 examination on September 15th of 2023, tried to change his testimony to say he did not know why his wife transferred her interest in the Georgia property to him. But he could not give a reason other than preventing garnishment. And when asked, so do you think it was because of the reason other than preventing garnishment? And when asked, so do you think it was because of the garnishment, correct? Mr. Keeby answered, I think so. Moreover, on that very day, the debtor transferred her interest in the Georgia property to Mr. Keeby. She then contacted the Lawyers Limited to create an offshore trust. And the debtor and Mr. Keeby were thereafter in communication with Lawyers Limited regarding their international asset protection plan. A principal reason for creation of the Sambaski Investment Trust as part of their plan was to protect the debtor and Mr. Keeby's assets, including the Georgia property. Question: why are you making payments to Latasha into this account that's only in your name? To prevent garnishment. Wait a minute. So they sat their ass up there on that guy. Why are you making payments to Latasha into this account that's only in your name? So this account is in Shaq's name, Yellen Entertainment. So why are you making payments to your wife? To prevent garnishment. Debtor further testified regarding payments for the debtor going to Mr. Keeby's personal bank account. Question: okay, if I were to tell you that your husband testified that payroll payments from Yellen are being paid to you and to the Bank of America account with your name off of it to avoid garnishment, would that be a correct statement? Here go her lawyer. Objection. Tasha says, probably, yeah. That would be correct statement because I know the checks that he did right because I didn't look, you know? What? Probably, yeah. That would be a correct statement because I know the checks that he did right because I didn't look, you know? Mr. Moon, okay. And if your husband testified that he stopped making payments to you because you told him to stop, so it could avoid being garnished, would that be a correct statement? Objection. Tasha, that would be pretty correct. That would be partly correct. Now your lawyer is trying to help you by saying objection. And every time they come right back and say, yep. Do. Yup. That would be partly correct. God damn. With respect to the debtor taking her name off of the joint Bank America account. And you also took your name off of the Bank of America joint account that you had with your husband, didn't you, Tasha K? I did. Why did you do that? Because it was going to get garnished too after they did the Chase account. With respect to the debtor's funds she was trying to keep from being garnished, the debtor testified. So how was he paying for your share of the rent? Objection. Here go Tasha. Because he was managing my funds that were coming in that I was trying to hold off from being garnished. Question. And those were the funds that were being held at Yellen Entertainment, correct? Correct. Just telling on herself, child. Mr. Kebe testified that the debtor directed him to stop making payments to her to avoid garnishment. So did he tell you to stop paying her? Yes. So did she tell you to stop paying her? Yes. Okay, and that was so you could prevent it from, or she could prevent it from being garnished, correct? Yes. That's what we did. We did it, okay? We did it. Now what do you want to do? We did it. What are you saying? What are you saying, sir? We did it, okay? We did it. Mr. Kebe admitted he was assisting the debtor to avoid paying the defamation judgment through garnishment. Question. So you understand your wife was trying to avoid paying my client through garnishment, don't you? Mr. Lieber. Objection. Calls for a legal conclusion. Mr. Moon, you can answer. Shaq. Yes. Are you and were you helping her to do that? Weren't you? Objection. It calls for legal conclusion. You were helping her to avoid paying my client, correct? Yes. Mr. Kebe admitted he was holding money for Tasha K's business, Unwind with Tasha K, to avoid garnishment. Question. When you say you were holding money for Unwind with Tasha K, were you holding that money to avoid the garnishment from Cardi B? Yes. Examination of Shek Kebe on October 16th of 2023. Yellen was managing the money still, yes? And Yellen was holding the money for you and your wife to avoid garnishment, correct? I think I have already answered that question many times, and the answer is yes, correct? Yes. Oh, don't try to get smart now, Shaq, okay? He's going to say, I think I have already answered that question. Yeah, you did. You answered that many times, and that answer is still yes, isn't it? Yes. Yellen was holding Tasha's money, and Tasha was asking Yellen to manage her money, and they paid towards her bill. And Yellen was holding that money to avoid garnishment, correct? Yes, and pay her bills. Oh, her bills. Not your bills, her bills. Mr. Kebe testified that Yellen was paying the debtor's business debts to assist the debtor in avoiding garnishment. And you mentioned before that Tasha K on stage is just your wife's business, correct? Yes. So why is Yellen paying this amount to Flamingo Theater? Yellen is producing it and managing Tasha K funds to produce it. And this event on October 20th is like the comedy show in Atlanta in March, correct? Yes. Why is it that Yellen would be paying for this event now when Tasha individually was the contract party in March? It was launched before Yellen was managing Tasha's funds. So Yellen was paying for it. Again, Yellen is managing Tasha's funds to avoid garnishment, correct? Yes, it's correct. It's correct. I mean, you can't get around it, y'all. He might as well tell the truth. At his 2004 examination, Shek Kebe was asked about the accuracy of a chart prepared by Ms. Almazar's forensic accountant, Barry Mukamal of Kapil Mukamal. The chart was based on financial documents provided by the debtor and Mr. Kebe for Kebe Studios and Yellen, and demonstrated that in August of 2022, the same month that Georgia State Court garnishment action against the debtor commenced, income previously directed to Kebe Studios from various sources ceased and was instead diverted to Yellen. This shift was consistent with efforts by the debtor and Mr. Kebe to circumvent the garnishment of the debtor's income. And if we keep going, you see that all of a sudden in it looks like August of 2022, Tasha K's income that had been going into Kebe Studios stopped. And then it shifts over to Yellen, doesn't it? Yes. And then it keeps on tracking until May of 2023, correct? Yes. So when you look at the chart like that, you can see that it is pretty clear that the Patreon money stopped, and then all of a sudden Tasha K Live started right after that. You see that, right? Yes. You also see that in August of 2022, Kibi Studios all of a sudden stopped getting any money coming from Tasha K Live money. And then it starts being funneled into Yellen, correct? Yes. And this is consistent with what you told us before, which is that income was being moved to avoid garnishment, correct? Yes. In summary, the debtor and Mr. Kibi blatantly disregarded the Georgia court's admonition and orchestrated a deliberate scheme to hinder, delay, and defraud Ms. Almazar, preventing her from collecting on the amended defamation judgment. Notably, Yellen became a central instrument in their fraudulent activities. The sworn testimony of the debtor and her husband clearly reveals how they strategically moved income beyond the reach of the debtor's creditors by transferring all business operations from Kibi Studios, a co-defendant and judgment debtor, jointly owned by the debtor and Mr. Kibi, to Yellen. As detailed above, this maneuver was admittedly aimed at evading Kibi Studios' liability under the amended defamation judgment. The debtor and her husband conceal and testify untruthfully about existence of onshore and offshore trusts. Unfortunately, neither the debtor nor her husband, Sheikh Kibi, have been truthful regarding the existence of both offshore and domestic trusts created for them. Specifically, the debtor's schedules do not reveal the existence of any trusts. So these are questions that are asked on the bankruptcy application, and it's basically asking, do they have trust? And in both of those instances, they check the box no. During the 341 meeting of creditors, the debtor was questioned about the existence of any trust. And with respect to deposits of money, you mentioned that you have one checking account. Do you have any savings accounts or any IRAs, any trusts, say, for example, for your children? No. You don't have any trust set up for your children? No. At her 2004 examination, the debtor further disclaimed the existence of any trust. You never told anyone that she was never going to get any money because you've moved your money in trust? No, I don't even have trust. Not only did the debtor disclaim the existence of any trust, but the debtor also specifically acknowledged that she and her husband knew they could not create trust because of the defamation action. And you mentioned you had estate lawyers. No, I ain't never had. The only estate lawyer we had was the one that made not the trust, but the wills. And I'll give you her name and the power of attorney. In that case, something happened to us. Is there any kind of trust? No trust. Have you ever tried to start a trust? No. I mean, we talked about it, but we didn't do. We was advised, because we were in the middle of a lawsuit, that we couldn't do that. And when you say we, who was we? Me and my husband and that lawyer that did life insurance and all that stuff. She is so fucking ghetto. Everywhere she goes, she's just ghetto. That's how you talk to the judge. The debtor's husband, Mr. Kibi, likewise testified untruthfully that there were no trusts. Okay, do you have a trust? No. Do you have a trust for your children? No. Do you know that your wife has publicly talked about the trust that she created for your children? We thought about it, but you never did it. We don't have one. Sheikh Kibi's 2004 examination on September 11, 2023. During the course of discovery in this case, notwithstanding debtor and Mr. Kibi's intentionally untruthful testimony, Ms. Almazar has uncovered the existence of partnerships and multiple domestic and offshore trusts that were not disclosed, and payments of approximately $25,000 to set up an international asset protection plan. Specifically, the debtor failed to disclose the existence of these following trusts. The Sambeski Investment Trust, that's on Cook Islands. The Sineski's LLC, that's on the island of Nevis. The Bamako Trust for the Kibi children, that's in Georgia. The Transrena Management Trust is in Georgia. The Florida Joint Revocable Living Trust and Tantu Limited Partnership, those are in Georgia. When confronted with Undersigned's discovery of the undisclosed Tantu Limited Partnership and the Transrena Management Trust, Mr. Kebe feigned ignorance of their existence, who owned them, and what interest he may have in them. Specifically, Mr. Kebe first testified that he had no interest in Carolyn Homes LLC, a company for buying and flipping real estate, and that it was his wife's company. Is there any other type of business that you conducted through Kebe Studios? So film production or the management of Unwind with Tasha K? Yes. What is that? It was Caroline Homes and Modify, I believe. You conducted those through Kebe Studios? They were financed by Kebe Studios. They were financed by Kebe Studios? Yes. Aren't those, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't those businesses that your wife owns? Yes. Do you have interest in either Caroline Homes or Mollify? No. And I got that right. Caroline Homes and Mollify. Yes. At his examination on October 16th of 2023, Mr. Kebe then changed his testimony from that previous statement. What is Carolyn Homes? Carolyn Homes was one of the businesses that my wife and I had. So you and your wife had it? Yes. What was it a business for? It was to invest in buying homes and flipping them. Why did you testify on September 11th that you did not have any interest in Caroline Homes? Because Caroline Homes and Mollify was the last thing that I heard. You are saying you didn't hear Caroline Homes? Mollify is what I recall hearing. So you are changing your testimony today as well, correct? Correct. And you did have an interest in Caroline Homes, correct? Correct. How can you say you didn't hear him say Caroline Homes? You only heard him say Mollify when you repeated the name Caroline Homes in your statement. Just lying. I mean, damn. Why did you testify on September 11th that you did not have any interest in Caroline Homes? Because Caroline Homes and Mollify was the last thing I heard. So then when you go up here, he says right here, is there any other type of business that you conducted through Kebe Studios? Yes. What is it? It was Caroline Homes and Mollify. You, the one, said Caroline Homes. He didn't ask you. Was it Caroline Homes? So how is it that all you heard was Mollify? I can see that. Damn. Shakna Kebe's 2004 examination on October 16th. Even though Mr. Kebe changed his testimony to state that he owned Caroline Homes on a 50-50 basis with his wife, the articles of organization for Caroline Homes reveals that Tantu Limited Partnership, another undisclosed entity of Tasha and her husband, is the organizer and authorized signatory for Caroline Homes. Unironically, Tantu is the name of the Kebe's daughter. So they're trying to make Tantu the owner of Caroline Homes. So all of this is a bunch of moving shit around, moving money around, all these different smoke screens. And it's all designed to move the money and income away from Cardi B. And how is it, if you don't know anything about these trusts, that they just happen to be names that are related to you, your kids? Ain't too many people with the name Transrena, bitch, okay? Moreover, the certificate of limited partnership of Tantu Limited Partnership reveals that the general partner of Tantu Limited Partnership is the undisclosed Transrena Management Trust. Despite admitting to owning 50% of Caroline Homes, Mr. Kebe was unable to provide details regarding who maintains the books and records of the company. Furthermore, he could not offer information about the creation, existence, or ownership of Tantu Limited Partnership or Transrena Management Trust, aside from referencing estate planning attorney Natalie Green Hosea, whose communications are presumably protected by attorney-client privilege. Who owns Transrena Management Trust? I don't know. You don't know? I don't know. Does the word Transrena maybe give you a clue as to who might own it? Transrena is my wife's middle name. Do you recall that you testified that there were no trusts, that neither you or your wife owned any trusts? Yes. So why are we seeing Transrena Management Trust here for Tantu Limited Partnership as the general partner? I don't know why. Who were the limited partners of Transrena Management Trust? I don't know. Are you a limited partner in Transrena Management Trust? I don't know. Are you a limited partner in Tantu Limited Partnership? I don't know. Who would have documents related to Tantu Limited Partnership? That would have to be the attorney. Natalie Green Hosea? Yes. Tantu Limited Partnership is still an active partnership, isn't it? I don't know. Who would have the books and records of Carolyn Holmes? Books and records of Carolyn Holmes? I don't know. You don't know? I don't know. Everything is, I don't know. How you don't know? These names are your kids' names. Tantu is an African name. Transrena might as well be an African name. These people are all associated with you. How you don't know who owns it? How you don't know where paperwork is? These examples represent just a fraction of the deceptive and blatantly false testimony provided by the debtor and her husband throughout this case. Nevertheless, they clearly demonstrate the premeditated efforts by Tasha and her husband to shield assets from their creditors, specifically Miss Almazar. Now, the legal background is just talking about the bankruptcy rules and good faith rules. So I'm not going to, let me skim. Basically, it's just telling them that they need to change it. So let me read it. The court's authority to dismiss a Chapter 11 bankruptcy case for cause is set forth in 11 U.S.C., which provides in pertinent part. On request of a party in interest and after notice and a hearing, the court shall convert a case under this chapter to a case Chapter 7 or dismiss a case under this chapter, whichever is in the best interest of the creditors of the estate for cause. The Bankruptcy Code defines cause for purposes of with a non-exhaustive enumerated list, including, in pertinent part, unexcused failure to satisfy timely any filing or reporting requirement established by Title 11 or by any rule applicable to a case under Chapter 11. Additionally, although not specifically enumerated, bad faith conduct either before or after the filing of a petition also constitutes cause to convert or dismiss a case. In addition, a Chapter 11 plan of reorganization must be found to have been filed in good faith to be confirmed. A bankruptcy petition not filed in good faith provides sufficient cause to dismiss a bankruptcy case. Importantly, once a movant places a debtor's good faith at issue, the burden shifts to the debtor to establish that the petition was filed in good faith. The good faith requirement for proceeding in a bankruptcy case or confirming a Chapter 11 plan has long been the policing mechanism of bankruptcy courts to make certain that those who invoke the reorganization or rehabilitation provisions of the bankruptcy law do so only to accomplish the aims and objectives of bankruptcy philosophy and for no other purpose. Moreover, a good faith requirement protects the jurisdictional integrity of the bankruptcy courts, which sit in equity and therefore demand that a party seeking relief enter with clean hands. So the reason why they're talking about good faith, I'm just going to sum this up. They're saying that she did not have good faith when filing this bankruptcy. And in order to file bankruptcies of a Chapter 11, you must have good faith, meaning that you're stating I cannot pay because I'm really in debt. I'm not trying to avoid paying anybody because I'm just trying to avoid, I'm not moving money around. I'm not being sneaky. I'm not doing any fraud or anything like that. I sincerely cannot pay. Okay. They're saying that she doesn't have any examples or demonstrated any good faith because she's been lying about hiding money. They have offshore accounts and they've been lying this entire time. So the good faith is out of the window. They said that they've never demonstrated that. So that for that reason, it should be dismissed. It should be dismissed or dropped down to a Chapter 7. And if they dismiss it, she should not be able to, it says, for a period of 2 years from the date of the order of dismissal, not be able to file any bankruptcies. So this was mailed to all of the parties. These are just emails. This was about correspondence. These are Cook Islands. Okay, so here are the trusts. Now remember, when we first looked at these trust accounts, they had $0 in them. Remember, that was her defense. So this is why you have to hire a forensic accountant, because they're able to figure out how things are, where they're at. Something can appear to look like it has a zero balance, but when you start tracking shit down and finding shit and asking for shit, then this is where they found it. So they found that there is a total of $19,995, $3,685. Okay, so for the Cook Islands Trust, it is it's $19,995. For the Nevis LLC Trust, it's $3,685 in that account. For Nevis Certificate of Incumbency, it's $595 in there. Lien Documents Real Estate, $595. Another $595 for a total of $25,465. So that's that. Remember when Cardi said earlier that she put up $25,000 to establish these accounts. So that's the $25,000. So that is sitting over in these trusts. So company Siniski's LLC, this company purpose of that trust is a business and asset management. And the source of funds for this account was an estimated initial deposit of $20,000. And it was from income from my media production company, Kibi Studios, and my real estate company, Carolyn Homes LLC. So this is what she told this, whoever set this account up for her. She told them that the deposit that she made of $20,000 came from Kibi Studios. So money that was supposed to be Cardi B's, because Kibi Studios was sued, remember? And Kibi Studios owes $500,000. So she took that money after she liquidated that company and Carolyn Homes and put it in a trust. Now here's the Cook Island application. They found this shit. Cardi did her big one. They found this shit. Kibi Studios executive producer, a E-News reporter is her position. Child. Assets intended to transfer into the trust. Bank account, yes. Unwind with Tasha K YouTube account, yes. Her home, no, because it has a debt of $330,000. Tasha K Live website, yes. Kibi Studios Stripe account, yes. Kibi Studios bank account, yes. So all of the Kibi Studios was transferred into this trust, the Siniskis. So the Siniskis is a smokescreen for Kibi Studios. See, that's how she liquidated KB Studios and put it all into this Siniski's. Wow. They got her ass. They tracked your shit down, Tasha K. Here's the statement of her paying for these trusts, I guess monthly management of it. Here's an AT&T bill. I don't know what that's someone there for. Child. To whom it may concern, my name is Jonathan Amzalam, and I'm an attorney barred in Washington, D.C. My bar number, I'm writing this letter to serve as a professional reference for Shekna and Latasha Kibi. I've known these clients for over 2 years. I'm more than happy to provide this reference attesting to their personal and professional conduct. Please do not hesitate to contact me any further. I guess they wrote a reference for them to, get these trusts. I don't know, child. Here's a bank statement. KB Studios and Yellen Entertainment income analysis. This was for the bankruptcy courts. Wow. Child. So they were just showing evidence of basically how she was moving money around. Now, the next receipt I want to show you guys is the bankruptcy trustee. Now, this is unusual, okay, to me. The bankruptcy trustee is also stating that this should be dismissed, and she agrees that it should be dropped down to a Chapter 7. Trustees joined her in motion to dismiss the case. Maria Yip, trustee, moves with and joins in creditor Bacalus Marlenis Almazar's motion to dismiss Chapter 11 bankruptcy case, or in the alternative, convert the case to a case under Chapter 7 under the bankruptcy code filed by the creditor Bacalus Marlenis Almazar, and as grounds therefore stated as follows. On May 25th of 2023, a voluntary petition for relief was filed under Chapter 11 of the bankruptcy code by Tasha K. On December 12th of 2024, Cardi B filed this motion to dismiss the case. The trustee joins in the motion to dismiss, and for the reasons stated therein and to be articulated at the hearing on the motion to dismiss, request that the case be dismissed. Wherefore, the trustee respectfully requests that this honorable court enter an order dismissing this case, and for such other relief as the court may deem just and proper. I hereby certify that a true and correct copy of this trustee's joinder in motion to dismiss the case was served electronically to all parties. Attached is the list, and they were sent via mail, email, or whatever. And she's stating basically that she agrees with Cardi B. That's what this means. That Cardi B found information that you were moving money around, and she agrees that that is not good faith conduct under the bankruptcy code. And so she agrees that this should be dismissed or dropped down to a Chapter 7. So Tasha K had a bad day. She had a bad day today. Not only did Cardi B file her shit, but the damn trustee jumped on the bandwagon and said, yes, judge, this needs to be dismissed. I've seen all the evidence. I've looked at everything, and I agree that Tasha K was moving money around in an attempt to not pay Cardi B. Bacalus, okay? Bacalus. I'm just reading fast, okay? I may not be saying it. Bacalus, I may not be saying it. I just say Bacalus. If it's Bacalus, I'm sorry. But I'm reading a lot of paperwork, okay? So bear with me. Bacalus. Bacalus, is that how you say it? Bacalus. Is that how you say it, Natural Yeen? Becalis, Belcalis. Is that it? So this is it's not a shocker to me because I've been saying this all along. I knew how everything was going down. When I read over the income statements and everything that she was turning in monthly that showed what she was getting from her income, and then it was going out in payroll to Yellen Entertainment like she was paying employees. I'm like, what employees are you paying? It ain't even got nobody's name listed. When you pay employees, you use Paychecks or ADP, some type of, payroll software. You don't make direct payments into another bank account. You know what I'm saying? So it's obvious that there was some type of fraud going on. You got your nerve to be talking about me, pointing the fingers at me. Child, my shit over with. You, my dear, you got a long road up ahead. You got millions of dollars that's got to be paid. Again, you do not want to be accountable for the shit you did to Cardi B. And these people are going to make you be accountable. It's no matter where you run, how you try to hide, it's not working. Just pay the lady. I never seen nothing like this. She could have been paid and start paying by now. She definitely has it, y'all. She makes enough. She could pay Cardi B this judgment over time. She may not be able to write a check out for $3 million, but as her net worth goes up, she will be. She'll be able to write a check out for $1 million. Tasha K ain't broke. Now, I've said that she's struggling, but she ain't broke. She wants to live the way she's living. She got a car payment, a truck payment for nothing. She don't need to have, she could have been paid that truck off. I never seen nothing like that. If I was in a position making the money that she was making, I would pay off all my debts and be banking my money. They create debt. You paying $7,000. That shit's backwards. You paying $7,000 a month to live in a high rise and got a over $1,000 a month payment for a 2021 or 2018. One of them, I think it's a 2021 Chevy Silverado. You paying over $1,000 a month and it's valued over 50 some thousand. You could have paid that. That don't make no sense. You're getting that monthly. If you're making $50,000 a month, you know how much income that is in 1 year? And that's just from YouTube. That's not from Tasha K Live. That's not from Patreon. That's not from Facebook, Instagram. All of her sources of income, sponsors, all of it. She makes a decent amount of money. And that's why they keep saying about good faith. She doesn't have good faith. She wants to run from the debt. This means that she's never taken accountability for what she's done. She's not remorseful. She's not sorry. She's not apologetic at all because she's trying to get out of pain. Cardi is not taking her foot off your neck. She wants the money. It's the principle. She don't need your money, but she wants you to pay because she wants you to be held accountable for what you did. You trolled her unrelentlessly. You had all of your fans, winos, in her comments, in her DMs, talking about her kids. You have all that. All of these CPS situations that she got going on. How we know those ain't fucking winos making those calls? Yes, Rena. Yes, she's making that consistently. Like 1 month it might be 50. 1 month it might be 6. One time we seen it was 69K just from YouTube. It may go up and down, but it doesn't fluctuate by much. If anything, it's more each month. The only reason why in the beginning, when she first had that garnishment, it was only $9,000. It was because she was intentionally not monetizing her videos. She was, making her income go down by not doing quality content, not posting on YouTube. She was posting on the app. So she was trying to make it look like she wasn't making a lot. Once she, filed the bankruptcy, then the income you see it shoots back up. Because we have the ability to turn our monetization off and on for each video. Now your channel is monetized, but when you create the video upload, you can turn on the ads or, turn them on, off or on. So if you don't want to make any money, you would just keep it off. And that's what she was doing. She was only getting the revenue off the old videos. So that was on purpose. So when you intentionally try to hide money and you intentionally try not to pay, this is why you're in the situation you're in. You would have been better off going ahead with that settlement that y'all put in place and moving on. Now you're making it worse for yourself because you just might be facing jail time. You might go to jail. You could face 5 years in prison and a fine. Is that worth it? And that Courtney Jackson says, y'all people are killing me. Saying Cardi shouldn't be going after Tasha K for millions when it wasn't Cardi who came up with the amount of the jury did. Exactly. The judge didn't come up with the amount. Cardi B didn't ask for this amount. This is what the jury came up with. It was a jury trial. Not only that, when the case went to bankruptcy court, they had a settlement agreement. Cardi B was willing to take the risk that Tasha K put in the provisions. She said, okay, I'm going to take the risk. You're saying that you're going to be able to make more money and all this. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this payment plan. And right before they were about to turn it in, the amended plan, Tasha erased numbers and fudged numbers and took off provisions. And her attorneys looked at this shit and said, ho, this bitch is trying to sneak this shit in. Again, another attempt to fraud the goddamn bankruptcy courts. You sat on the stand, you and your husband, you say you didn't know anything about trust. They uncover trust. Every month for an entire year, you continue to circle the box that no, we don't have any trust. It wasn't until June of 2024 that you finally admitted that you had trust, and that was only because Cardi B found it. Your silly ass is the one that came online telling everybody that you moved money to your husband or your kids or I ain't got no money. I ain't paying. I ain't got no money. Oh, that's bankruptcy for. You're the one, because you couldn't keep your fucking mouth shut. Every time you did an interview, every time you was on a live, anytime you was on a panel, you was panel hopping back then. CTV, all these places. I ain't got no money. I ain't been gonna be. I'm moving the money. It's in my son name. I got $1. Like, oh, that's what rich people do. Oh, I ain't stopping until the white people tell me to stop. Well, the white people told you to stop. But like I said, it's a shocker to me when the trustee says, you know what, I gotta go. Now, I'm not going to say that the trustee is specifically on Tasha's side, but the trustee is the person that is over the bankruptcy case. Okay, she could have said to the judge, no, I think that the plan is proper. I think that she should be able to keep this plan and we should go forward with the reorganization plan. No, she said, nope, this needs to be dismissed. There's some lies going on here. I absolutely agree with Cardi B. So, Judge, you need to dismiss this case or drop it down to a Chapter 7. And I told y'all that this should have been a Chapter 7. The only reason why she didn't do the Chapter 7 is because it was not going to be able to be dischargeable. She knew that. She thought she was going to be able to get that shit off with a Chapter 11. But the Chapter 7 is a discharge. You discharge debt. You don't go on a payment plan. You don't do any of that. They discharge your debt. She didn't file that because she couldn't. Because of that $3 million judgment was a willful malicious act. A willful malicious tort. It was not able to be discharged. That is the only reason why she went with 11. She thought she was going to be able to get it off through there. She thought she was going to buy herself some time. But she always knew that she was going to have to pay something back because a Chapter 11 is a payment plan. It's similar to a Chapter 13. So her attorneys had to be advising her that, Tasha, you're still not going to be able to discharge this. You're going to have to pay something. So when they came up with the plan, why didn't she just accept it? She's the one filing a Chapter fucking 11. She fucked herself. All she had to do was admit that she had to trust. It's nothing wrong. See, she didn't break the law by having trust accounts. There's nothing wrong with having trust accounts. You broke the law when you moved the shit during a court case. When you were told not to. That's the problem. And then you lied. You might have got the shit off by telling the truth right up front. Yes, we do have trust accounts, but we have children. We're trying to safeguard their future. And you might have been able to talk your way out of it if you had to told the truth from the beginning. But being deceitful and lying and hiding, now you're going to find yourself in a worse off situation. I would have just told the truth. So this is a hot ass mess. Basically, that's what we have here. We have a hot ass mess. Okay. And I'm going to follow the story. As always, we're going to get to the bottom of what is going on. As soon as I find out if this is going to happen fast. The judge is going to quickly rule on this. I'm expecting Judge Ray he might file charges against Tasha K. He already thought she was arrogant and greedy. He said that when she was on trial. Well, during the case. He said he saw her attitude when they was playing back her videos and her statements that they played in court. He said he saw her as greedy and in it for the money. He saw her personality. So he may not have any sympathy because she intentionally did what he told her and her husband not to do. And then the arrogance on top of that. So he just may file charges against Tasha K. He definitely is probably going to impose a fine. She can expect to be looking for that. I predict that he's going to propose a fine. If he doesn't put her ass in jail, he's going to impose a fine. There are going to be consequences for what she did. They're not going to overlook that. Trust me. There are going to be consequences for this direct, blatant act of defiance. And I told you guys, she has always been shrugging her damn face at the court, shaking her fist at the court in defiance, specifically at that Judge Ray. She has no respect for court protocols. None at all. Will you cover Megan versus Tory? So you want me to go back and cover, you want me to go back and cover what, go from the beginning or something like that? Do they still got something going on? Did they overturn something or something? I mean, are they opening it back up? Like, what's going on with it? I thought that was over with. He got 10 years, don't he? Yup, she sent money to Africa and then tried to say that the brother, they 50-50. The brother's name ain't nowhere on Yelling Entertainment. They found out that, the new suit. Oh, yes, I am going to do that one. I did start some of it. I don't know if there's any more documents I got to find, and I do need to find out where they are with that case. Yes, I do want to cover that. Yes, absolutely. Yep. Courtney says she feels Cardi is a celebrity, and she says she ain't paying no celebrities for her lies because they can just seek therapy. Her words. Crazy as hell. Cardi can just pay for therapy. Girl. Well, guess what? They're not going to see it that way. Yes, I think so. Yes, a messy ass bitch. Yes, I am going to cover it. Yeah, yes. So maybe I'll do it over the weekend. I'll check and see what the updates are for that, and then I'll cover that. Yeah. So that's it, you guys. I didn't want to be up here long. I just wanted to read the court documents. I have some shopping to do tonight. Make sure you head over to my second channel, a Soul Sisters Diary. I'm going to be starting vlogging and lifestyle content over there, as well as hair care. I sell natural hair care products. I have a website. My moderators have been putting that in the chat. Right now, we are running a holiday special. So go over there and click on the little Christmas box, and you see what it is that we're offering for the holiday season. Okay, you can enter in also for a chance to win a $300 cash prize. So head over to the website and take a look at that. All right, you guys. That's all I got for this evening. You guys be sure to like the video on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you like content like this, and make sure you share. Okay, you guys. Catch you later. Bye.